Ms. Richmond, next case.
Our last hearing for today is item C10, Narendra Prasad. Please come forward.
Not.
You want me to do it on the mic?
No, you're very loud. It's not under your breath. No breath here.
Ladies and gentlemen. Hey, good.
Okay. Mr. Anjija, can you please introduce the items in this case?
Madam Chair and members, the appeal before you involves two unresolved issues, which are whether there is reasonable cause to relieve the finality and late payment penalties assessed against the corporation and passed through to petitioner pursuant to Section 6829, and secondly, whether relief of interest is warranted. As you know, we had the revised recommendation, the negligence penalty has been deleted.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the Board of Equalization, sir. You have 10 minutes to present your case, and then the department will have 10 minutes. You'll have 5 minutes on rebuttal, and as you can see, oftentimes there are questions. So please introduce yourself for the record, and you may begin.
Roger, ma'am. My name is Narendra Prasad, the owner of previously RNP Incorporation. So I jotted down notes and I gave it to, made 5 copies, and you guys have copies, so I'll actually talk through that. Hopefully it doesn't take me 10 minutes, so let me just begin. So I don't actually, disagree with what Board of Equalization have done in charging the amount. So I agree with the amount. I think they have done a thorough job. My intent over here is to, to show that, hey, although I, lost a lot of money and whatever happened, but I just wanted to show that, hey, I think somebody else was responsible, although I was the owner, right? And certain things happen, like I keep saying, hey, life happens, so life happens, right? So let me just start by saying, 2002, my father passed away. And I don't even know why I'm getting emotional. Got my family, and I took care of the family and forever. 2004 deployed, saved $60,000. I honestly don't know what the hell's going on. Sorry about my language. But, came back, got remarried with my wife. 2007, bought my store. My intent was to help my brother, who is a loser. At his older age, he can, I'd give the store to him and he could, make it for himself. So in 2009, ladies and gentlemen, I provided you copies of my transfer orders. I got transfer orders, so it got a bit challenging. And my brother quit his, didn't want to work. He found a better job and he moved on. So in order for me to run the store, I hired Mr. Yadev, which he was a very good friend, because when we first came to the country, the guy helped me, our family, to live. And just to point out at that time, when he was running the store, that was the time that I lost a whole bunch of money, and before then there was no evidence of me losing any money. Have the evidence of Mr. Yadev passing away. After he passed away, my brothers helped me run the store with a friend, Mr. Mahabir, and during this time, BOA was doing the analysis, and they found me liable for $119,000 and claimed that I did not pay any taxes on that. I do want to say that during that time, it was a very rough life. It's seriously, wife lost 6 babies. Whew. Anyway,
This
Just
is,
a lot of
this is not a time that you
Yes.
seem to want to recall. It was not a happy
yeah,
time.
honestly, ma'am, I don't know where this came from.
Well,
I'm
it's
way tougher than
emotional.
this, but it just came about. Okay, I do apologize for that. So just going forward, I actually had decided to sell my store to Mr. Mahabir. The documents didn't get signed, but there's like documents with a, agreement to sign. I was gonna sell the store and he was gonna pay me money. He eventually just paid me $2,000, but he was a family friend and I just moved on from it because, it was just too stressful. I said, forget it. 2012, the store closed. But since then, I have been dealing with, Board of Equalization. I hired an attorney where I lost a lot of money too, but who cares? But, just going back and forth, my brother passed away. 2015, paid for the money. But, I'm just gonna move on. So tried, like, with Board of Equalization to pay for the whole amount. But for one reason or another, it just didn't materialize. I have provided the supporting documents of email traffic, saying that, hey, I had worked with Steve Ryan. Actually, Steve Ryan did a very good job. I am grateful for him. I just, he made me an offer for $11,000. And I would have actually paid for it, except, I went on a mission, I came back, and he decided that, hey, the offer was not good, so whatever. Since then, I've been working back and forth with Board of Equalization, to get it paid. I was ready to get pay because, this was affecting my job. I had a top secret clearance. The top secret clearance obviously, allows you to do certain things that other people don't. And I guarded the most important documents and missions for the United States Army. So eventually in August, stole my stocks and paid the amount. There's other stuff that I think you guys can read. But I think if I keep talking, it's gonna get worse for me, but I think the stuff is there. But, again, I do agree that, hey, I was the sole owner of that store, and I am responsible, but I do say, hey, Mr. Yadav managed my store, and he was paying taxes for me because I just couldn't do it. Just wasn't time. The Army gives me money to have a house, have a house payment, so I had a house in Sacramento, worked in Monterey, and yeah, this might sound a sob story, but when you're poor, you're poor. Used to live in my car, did whatever. Up to now, I say I have lost more than $20,000, I paid, $200,000. I have paid, the loss of money that came out of my pocket, the attorney fees, and, the investment into the account. I have paid $18,000 out of my pocket. But whatever. Honestly, ma'am, I have, I'm just worn out. I don't know where this came from. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer, but at this time, I just have nothing.
Okay, thank you. Department?
Good Good afternoon, Chairwoman Harkey, members of the board. I'm Scott Claremont from the Department of Tax and Fee Administration, and with me are Stephen Smith and Kevin Hanks. As the Appeals Bureau has noted, we did amend our recommendation to relieve the negligence penalty, or to delete the negligence penalty in this case due to the circumstances. We also note that other periods at the end of this, subsequent to the period that he's being held liable for, were also deleted prior to during the appeals process based on lack of proof of responsibility. We concur with the recommendation of the Appeals Bureau as to the issues before the board today, which are the penalty relief and the interest relief. Under Revenue and Taxation Code, Section 6592, with regard to the late filing and late payment penalties, the late payment penalty, and under Revenue and Taxation Code, Section 6565, with regard to the finality penalty, penalty can be relieved if there was reasonable care and circumstances beyond the person's control, here the person being the corporation, and incurred notwithstanding the exercise of ordinary care in the absence of willful neglect. We understand there were issues, but there hasn't been a showing that there was circumstances beyond the corporation's control with regard to these of why the payment was late in the one quarter and why the determination was not paid or appealed with regard to the finality penalty. With regard to interest, it may be relieved under narrow circumstances, such as when the failure to pay is due in whole or in part to an unreasonable error or delay by a BOE board employee, and no significant aspect of the error or delay was attributable to the taxpayer. Here again, we don't see any error or delay or none has been alleged either by a BOE employee, a board employee. Therefore, we do not recommend that interest relief is appropriate in this instance either. So for those reasons, we do concur with the recommendation of the Appeals Bureau. Thank you.
Okay, you can rebut and what I want to understand from you, is that, a responsible person is not necessarily the owner. You don't have to claim you're a responsible person if you weren't actually there working and negotiating and paying the tax. You may have owned the business, but it appears to me you have been out of the country. So why don't you start with that?
Oh, I wasn't out of the country, man. I was
deployed.
working in Monterey.
Right.
Yes.
And you weren't able to manage the business. Who was
No.
managing it for you? Why don't you start there?
Yeah, so 2010. So, my brother found, 2009. I got transferred. I was transferred from Sacramento to Monterey. My family lived in Sacramento. So my brother found a new job, and that was just, so I commute.
Who was, I just want to lead
Yeah.
you. Who was running the company when you moved to Monterey?
Mr. Yadav was, yeah.
And who is that?
That's the guy who actually passed away, and he was a family friend.
Okay, so you had a family friend. Was he filling out the sales tax
Yes, ma'am.
returns?
Well,
Was
at
he-
least I thought he was.
Okay, so you thought he was.
Yes,
So was he able to write checks?
yes,
Okay, and did he, in essence, then manage the business from
Yes.
that time? Okay, so this is what I'm trying to tell you, or trying to let you know, that you're not necessarily the responsible party if somebody else was handling those types of affairs. So if you could focus on that kind of issue, when you were actually managing the company and when somebody else was managing it and writing checks for you.
Roger, man. So, there's a order here, ma'am, and it's dated 2009, 30 June. So I actually have two orders, right? So 30 June, I got transferred, and since then, I just wasn't able to manage the store.
So you weren't managing the store. Did you assume the taxes were being
Yes.
paid?
Yes, ma'am. And I have, just in case if you need it, there's another order on 2011 that made me come back.
Okay, so from June of 2009, you were actually absent.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you came back on December 5th of 2011.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me ask the department, what is this period? Without me just looking at, it looks like it's 1Q09 through 4Q11. Is the audit?
The audit is, excuse me, it's, the liability period is 4Q09 through 1Q12.
4Q09 through what?
Excuse me, 1Q09. 1Q09.
1Q9.
1Q09 through 4Q11?
1Q12.
1Q12. Okay. So from June 30th, you left, so that would mean that one Q09 and 2Q09, you were in charge, and then you said you came back on the 5th of December 2011, so that would mean you were probably responsible for 4Q11 and 1Q12. And between 3Q09 and 3Q11, you were not around to manage the company. You were not writing checks? Somebody
No.
else was handling?
Yes, ma'am.
And somebody else was, okay. Okay. Members, I reviewed this case. If you guys want to ask questions, go ahead, but I'm ready to make a motion whenever we're through.
Is that a motion, Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I would like to make a motion to strike the responsible person liability from 3Q09 through 3Q11, when the taxpayer was not in town and not handling the company, and then retain the liability for 1Q09, 2Q09, and 4Q11 and 1Q12, when he was around and available.
Second.
That's a motion and a second. And I would like to relieve penalties and just have him responsible for the tax and interest. Is there a second on that, to relieve the penalties?
Second.
Okay, there's a second from Member Ma. So those are two separate motions.
We vote on them separate.
Yeah, we can vote on them separately.
Yeah, good.
No, let's go ahead and vote. Let's go ahead and vote.
Just go ahead and vote. Okay, excuse me, call the roll.
No.
The first motion
No
is,
objection.
oh, there's no objection? Okay, so the taxpayer is relieved of interest from 3Q09 through 3Q11, or relieved of taxes. Liability for that period. Then the next motion would be to remove penalties, to remove the penalties entirely. And there's a second from Member Ma. Is there any objection? No. Okay, such will be the order. Sir, I'm hoping you find this a lot easier to handle, and thank you for showing up.
This is a refund now then, right? Correct?
It's a refund?
Yep.
I was going to need,
Yep, okay.
Okay, you will get a
We'll
refund.
get 'em.
So if I can, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, I apologize for my action. It's just, I don't know what happened. It's,
It's stressful to come here.
Well,
we
see,
know.
now you get a refund. So be sure they have your correct address. Sounds like you can have a nice holiday.
well, it goes in his education. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Members, we can adjourn.
right?
We only need 3 we up here to do anything, so we are adjourned, and thank you very much,
Thank you.
members. This was an interesting time, interesting cases, and thank you, staff, and to CDTFA and all the folks. See you next month. I think it's Culver City, right?
Yes.
All right.
Finale, Culver City.
Are we still recording? Because I do have an, are we still recording? No, we're off. Okay, we'll have to adjourn in her memory in November. Let's be sure we do that. We can reopen, there's three of us.
Absolutely.
Let's reopen the hearing, just really quick. No, you'd be in the room.
As long as they can hear you.
They're rolling. They're good.
Okay, thank you. I would like to just adjourn in memory of Nicol Kimura. She was a compliance tax specialist in the Irvine office who was tragically killed in the Las Vegas shooting. While I did not know Nicole personally, multiple co-workers and the district administrator and everybody that knew her shared their stories of her and her sparkling personality, quick wit, intelligence, and unforgettable laugh. And we've all seen her picture in the newspaper. She was just a beautiful girl, seemed lively. We know she was intelligent. It was just such a shame. I can't imagine her family's grief at this time. But her board family would like to offer our sincere condolences to her entire family, and we are extremely sorry for your loss. Please let us know how we can help you. If we can be of any assistance later, we'd be happy to do so. Thank you. So we are adjourned.
Rachel.